Howdy, Ian here with Soundsy, and I want to give you the official rating on the new Rolling Stones album, Hackney Diamonds. Now, I'm not going to go into a long story about, hey, I first bought, Undercover back in 1983, or, hey, my first Stones album was, 1973's Goat's Head Soup, or any of that. There's no need for that. Also, not everybody has their own little, not everybody, but a lot of people have their own little Stones story. So I'm not going to bore you with that. Also, I'm not going to go track by track by track by track. That is your job, not mine, your job to go through the tracks one by one and determine what you think. But I am going to give you my synopsis, the straight dope, and the official rating. Okay, Hackney Diamonds is a very alive, lively sounding production. As I've said before, it runs like Emotional Rescue as far as taking you on that ride. That's how it runs, but it has the production of Some Girls with a lively, very upbeat sound and aliveness, A-L-I-V-E-N-E-S-S. It has an aliveness to it. It is up-tempo, upbeat, and very, very, very fresh sounding. It sounds new and fresh. Now, there's been a lot of talk about Keith Richards and Ronnie Wood on this album and how they kind of do their weaving, where you can't tell who's playing the lead and who's playing the solo. They call it their ancient art of weaving. I don't hear that. I don't hear that much, like you did on High Wire, where you can't really tell in that, middle late part who's playing the lead and who's playing the solo. Or Beast of Burden, how you really can't tell who's playing what between Ron Wood and Keith Richards. Or maybe Rocks Off from 1972 Exile on Main Street, where you can't really tell at times. I don't hear that this time. I really don't. I hear Ronnie Wood, believe it or not, mostly panned right in the mix, and Keith Richards panned left in the mix. And I can determine who is playing what. For the most part, I don't hear that weaving stuff. Now, normally Keith Richards is panned to the right in the mix, and Ronnie Wood is panned to the left. Not so in most of this. Okay, moving on. It is a pop rock record. Yes, pop. But that doesn't make it bad. It is a pop rock record. It's very popish. There, even in the choruses and things like that, there is a sheen to the album. The album is very on the surface. There's not depth. Like you can go back into, like, say, Dancing with Mr. D, or, even some of their other ones, like Can You Hear the Music, or say, oh, Can't You Hear Me Knocking, where you have that depth and there's something going on under there. It's not all surface-based. Well, on this album, it is mostly surface-based. That doesn't make it bad. That doesn't make it wrong. That's what they were going for here. I do hear a lot of Mick Jagger and Mick Jagger's writing style on this album, as opposed to Keith. And very surface on the surface, but alive. Very fresh. And a lot of energy. There's the energy. The album just keeps rolling along. Boom, 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 boom. And before you know it, it's over. It's relatively short. I think it's 48 minutes or so, and it feels like that. As I understand it, this is not planned to be the last Stones album. They're going to do more. So it kind of makes you wanting something more, or even maybe wanting something different. but very lively, alive production. The production is some girl sounding, you know, it's some girl sounding without that weave as much. I can generally tell who's playing what, and it's pretty obvious. Ron Wood on right, Keith Richards on left for most of the album. It has a lot of energy. There's an energy going through Hackney Diamonds that wasn't there on previous albums, or it was there, like on A Bigger Bang, but this is a different kind of energy. It's more of a happy, uplifting energy, more than, you know, for lack of a better term, angry. Although Angry is a darn good song. It has that, it starts off, the album starts off with Angry, with that big production, that big sound, all right? The big sound is there on a lot of the album, but not quite as much as Angry. The big sound is also there on Sweet Sound of Heaven, a great song. In the Stones' very best work. Up there with Salt of the Earth, Let It Loose, Shine a Light. It's at least in that category. And you know, for their epic songs. This is an epic track, Sweet Sound to Heaven, in which Lady Gaga guests. It's at least in that category, 2023 style. And it's over 7 minutes long, and that alone, just getting to the quality of that, in this day and age, as good as one of their older works, their older epic tracks. It is a gospel soul, gospel rock song, and just them getting that and putting it in the category to be included with those others is incredible in this day and age. Sweet Sound to Heaven is, you know, the breadwinner. My personal favorite is Dreamy Skies, which doesn't sound like much at first. It just sounds like more of a melody, but it grows on you. There's a ton of different genres that they've incorporated into this pop rock album. It basically took almost all their flavors, not all, but it took almost all their flavors and put it into a different song on Hackney Diamonds. Rock, post-punk, punk, new wave injected with some of that post-punk, a punk song, gospel, of course blues, country, you know, disco, or a dance type feel on one of the songs. And you'll know which song that is. It's a dance/disco thing going on in the chorus, and it'll grow on you. It's not my favorite Stones track, but it'll grow on you. Very alive album, very fresh sounding, high-spirited. It's not a downer of an album at all. It kind of keeps you going. It's not so happy it's joyous, but it's uplifting, high-spirited, high-energy, uplifting sort of production. A very alive-sounding production, and very eclectic. Lots of different genres in there. It takes, you know, not all, but it takes so many of the Stones, how they can write songs, and puts it into each different tracks through the album. Highlights, of course, as I mentioned, Sweet Sound to Heaven, Angry, of course, Get Close, and My Whole Wide World, and my personal favorite, Dreamy Skies. But that's all I'm going to mention. That's all I'm going to mention. Now you know what the album's about. It is enough to suffice and carry you through. It's not a downer. It's not a disappointment. Mick Jagger, although singing higher now, maybe his voice is a little thinner than it used to be. He might have to sing some things in different keys. Is very convincing. Nobody sounds as strong as him at that age, or even close to it, that is close to that age. Steve Jordan does his power drumming on that. Charlie Watts is on a few tracks, including that dance chorus one. And that is the basis of Hackney Diamonds, okay? If the stones are great, I'll be the first to tell you. If the stones are subpar, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you exactly like it is. But it's not a disappointment. It's not a downer. Uplifting, upbeat, alive-sounding production, fresh-sounding production, very surface-level production, very pop-oriented, a pop-rock album. There's some straight big rock in there too, but it's got a lot of pop influence from their new producer, Andrew Watt, or the producer for this album. Not sure who they're going to go with next, or if there'll be a next one, but that's what it's looking like. So, Stones album, Hackney Diamonds, official rating, 87%. See you next time.